Cloud. Hi, everybody. This is Elliott. I'm one of the senior teachers at O2 Yoga, and I'm here talking to Mimi Loureiro, who is the founder and creator of O2, the owner of the studio here in Somerville. And I thought we could just spend a little time to talk about where things are with yoga right now, about our upcoming online teacher training, and just to give you a sense of how we work together and what things are like here at O2 right now. Good morning, Mimi.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. Well,
Good.
I'm all right.
I know. So tell me a little bit about O2, when it started, what inspired you to start O2, how it all began.
So short answer is I had a yoga studio in my hometown of Rye, New Hampshire. And it was the first yoga studio in the area. This was 22 years ago. And I really was excited and inspired by yoga practice and what it was doing to other people's lives. And so I decided that I wanted to open another yoga studio. And one of my students moved down to the Somerville area. And she said that there wasn't any or much yoga in the area at the time.
Right.
So we took the leap and found a space, which is now O2 in Somerville, where you are now. This was 20 years ago. Yeah, we've been flourishing there ever since and growing O2 yoga specifically in the area, in that neighborhood.
What do you think has changed in the yoga industry or the fitness industry since you started this? I mean, it's been 20 years.
You know, it's interesting because I came out of the fitness industry, and when I first started practicing yoga, I thought maybe this is another one of those flash in the pan kind of things, like
Right.
in fitness with step and, all the different things. What has actually surprised me over the years is that yoga continues to be a very, very strong and powerful force in the world, as a fitness component, as a mental health component. And I'm very pleasantly pleased to see that it has such a foothold in our culture, and that a lot of people, no matter who they are, really find that it benefits them.
You mentioned when you started, there wasn't much yoga here. I know that changed pretty dramatically in the past 10 years, right? Yoga really exploded. Obviously, in the past couple months, that's changed dramatically. So many studios have closed. What do you think is different about O2 that's let us survive? Well, both, two questions. What do you think has let us survive? And also, what is different about O2 from some of these other places that have opened?
I can't speak to exactly how other studios run their business or interact with their clients. What I can say that I think that we do really well, which has, I think, helped us to continue to survive in an industry that has been really challenged, especially in the past few months, is we are really grounded in a sense of respect for our students in terms of recognizing them, but also an integrity around the method that we use. I think that it's common for people when they start to struggle to shift gears and try to be something else in order to gain more. We have stayed steadily with the method that we do. We continue to finesse it and fine tune it. But what our students get from us is a sense of a really solid practice. They feel like they understand. We empower our students with knowledge, but also we're predictable in a strange sort of way, even though O2 is an unpredictable format in the sense of like each class is different. There's a predictable nature to the way the classes are structured, the way that we interact, the way our teachers all complement each other, and how we stay so true to the important facets of what makes O2 special.
Good, yeah. So, I mean, I see that there's small differences in the way that we teach, like individual postures or some transitions, maybe over time, as we learn and watch our students and change, but also the overall structure has stayed the same. And there's something very comforting, especially right now, about familiarity, right?
Yeah.
That you're not, it's not a wild card class. You have no idea what it's going to happen, right? Like, right. I know people know when they take a class with me that they're going to get a kind of workout, that there's going to be real structure and an intelligence to it that's going to carry through. So right now, I think that's very helpful for a lot of folks and comforting. Let's shift gears to just talk about the online teacher training, because this is a big change to go
Yeah.
completely remote for a 200-hour training. Tell me a little bit about what your hope is with the training.
Well, I always say to people when they do a teacher training, or even when they walk into the yoga studio for the first time, or walk into an online class for the first time, I congratulate them for stepping out of their comfort zone.
Right.
And I am stepping out of my comfort zone. And you and I together are stepping out of our comfort zone because we're a hands-on tradition. That's part of what O2 is. So it took me a long time to make the decision to run an online training, because I wanted to make sure that the integrity of what we did was maintained, and it wasn't going to be watered down or significantly diminished. And I think that's another thing that you and I do really well is back in March when everything shut down, we had to shift gears and decide how we wanted to do things, but we very intentionally didn't just jump into online classes right away. We wanted to make sure that we were comfortable with the method and with how we wanted to do things. And so same thing goes with the online training. It took me a while to sort of maneuver it in my brain, and what made me decide to do it was that I really feel, as you said, that people are looking for structure right now. A lot of people are still working from home or not able to do their normal things during this COVID situation that is likely to go on for a while. We're heading into the winter, which is tricky for people in general. And also that we have students all over the world that we have not been able to access to the same degree that we have been in person. And the online training is an offshoot of what you and I have seen with the classes that we've been running online. We're seeing people coming back to us from everywhere. And it made me realize that there are probably a lot of people who would love to do a training with us, but are far away or have a different time commitment. So being able to provide something that is solidly O2 in a more remote format so that people can do it in their own space seems really valuable right now.
So a lot of what we spend time with early in the teacher trainings that we've done in the past has been working on hands-on adjustments like you managed, showing students how to do what we do, where we assist students into better alignment on their mats by working with their body. And I think that's one of the reasons that people like coming to O2 when we had in-person classes also, was because we were one of the only studios that offered intelligent, compassionate hands-on adjustments.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not going to be doing that remotely.
Yeah.
We've lost that. What do you think is going to step in this teacher training to take the place of that?
I think what's going to step in is two things. I think the method of hands-on adjustments symbolically is about guiding someone through a practice, informing them, giving them information, but also a level of contact, a
Right.
level of, like you said, that concept of compassion. Um, I think that we can maintain that and walk people through things physically, but not literally, if that makes sense, that we are going to be able to sort of challenge ourselves to figure out how to still touch people, um, physically, emotionally, metaphorically, without it being literal, and how do we maintain, because this is a new world. And we've been teaching online for 7, 8 months now, and we are still connecting. And that's the other part that I'm going to layer on in this training, is how to do online teaching, because it's a very different skill set. And I remember you and I talking about it early on, and both of us were so exhausted because
No.
yeah, it was just such a different way, and the energetics was so different. So I think I want to provide that level of contact. Um, if we can't do it physically, how do we continue to connect and to make people feel like they're still moving forward and having that connection with others?
Right, right. Can you just summarize the schedule or the plan for the teacher training over the time? Like how many weekends? What do the hours look like? Just for the
So
audience.
yeah, sure. The teacher training spans over the course of, let me think about it, starts in November, it ends in March. It's 2 weekends per month. There might be three in a couple, but there's enough space in between. The first 2 weekends are the longest weekends. They're a Friday night, a full Saturday, and a Sunday block of 4 hours. Mainly because we want to get everybody sort of connected and rolling on those first 2 weekends. That is specific to the Ashtanga tradition, that is sort of in our foundation and our roots. And then as we continue to move forward through the training, it's Friday nights and Saturdays. The Saturday component is 8 hours, 9 to 5. The Friday night is 5 to 9. We start to build on the foundation of the Ashtanga piece and start to layer on all the things that make you O2 unique. The alignment piece, the sequencing, the cueing, the modifying for injury and for pregnancy. And we sort of build on that Ashtanga foundation until we get to the other end, which is sort of like improvised jazz, but it has a very, very solid format, which it doesn't appear when you're taking a class. You think that we're just sort of making stuff up as we go along. We are certainly not. And there is a method to the O2 madness. So the end of the training finishes up in March with 2 elective weekends. That's where we can throw in some stuff that half of the students might be more interested in than something else, just to sort of fill it out. And then that's basically how the structure works.
And classes are going to be on Zoom, or the training on Zoom, or on some other streaming
It's going to
platform.
be, well, the classes are primarily on Zoom. We're offering it through our other platform called NamaStream, which is what
Oh, right.
allows us to sort of have like a whole foundational practice, and the training is going to be there. Living on that platform. All of the lecture content will be recorded, so
Okay.
students will be able to have that as part. We have a full manual that can be printed off or worked on online, and we touch on a lot of different things, but primarily we stick to the O2 method because the goal is to teach people how to do what we do. So we don't spend a lot of time teaching people about other types of yoga because we don't find that we have enough time to really focus on what we do.
People, I think, are always surprised how little you can do in 200 hours, or how focused you have to be to not kind of like, right, it's very easy to cover 400 things in 10 minutes, but it's much tougher to dig deeper into what we do in
That's
that
right.
little 200 hours. I was listening to an interview the other day with a stand-up comedian who started talking about how his past as a punk musician really informed his stand-up, and it wasn't a thing that had occurred to me before. Um, I'm wondering if there's something in your background that people might be interested in knowing that really informs your teaching or how you approach O2 or training teachers themselves that you could talk about a little.
I guess I would say that I've been teaching something for most of my adult life. So I love to teach. I love uh, to dig deep into things that I care about, and then help other people. And honestly, my first experience with teaching, I was an aerobics teacher back in the 80s.
Oh, right.
So that was my first kind of teaching gig. Um, and what I was known for was two things, really. One was my extreme enthusiasm. But two was my gift, I guess, of knowing people, of recognizing them, to remembering their names. I think those two things together really make people want to continue. When you're working with a teacher who doesn't seem enthusiastic about what they love, what they're doing, and they don't seem to love what they're teaching, and they don't seem to inspire that in other people through connection, I think it's harder to care about something. So
Right.
I think those two things have always been a common thread in my teaching: enthusiasm, deep love of what I do, but also a sense of recognition of the people that are in front of me.
Right. As I've been reflecting on this myself, I was often I say that it was my time in graduate school working and teaching English, where it taught me first just to be comfortable in front of a class, right? To be standing up and presenting, but also that my classes were structured like arguments, like an essay, right?
Yeah,
And I still think about that now. Like when I teach a class, an O2 class, I'm trying to lead to a point in a posture where that would be the argument. How do you get there? How do you introduce the ideas? How do you build the structure to get to that point? How do you wrap things up at the end to put a little
yeah,
bow on it at the
yeah,
end? But then thinking a little deeper, like back in high school when I was running, I was not a sports guy, right? Like
yeah,
I ran because some of my friends ran and it was just a thing. I turned out to be okay at it, but it wasn't a team sport.
yeah,
And I've been reflecting a little bit about how even in this, like there's a kind of solitariness to this, even on your mat, like you're working by yourself in this group of people, the same way when I was
yeah,
running cross country and track, like you're working as a group, but it's still an individual thing. Um, and I'm continuing to find aspects of the practice like that that inform my own self-awareness, right?
yeah,
It doesn't stop, right? And I think this is part of what you're speaking to, that like, if you're curious and maintain interest in what you're doing, that is sort of infectious to other people, right?
yes,
It doesn't
yeah,
ever become stale, right? So keep
yeah.
looking, keep exploring. Um, any last thoughts about the next couple of weeks or months as we move ahead, both in the class and toward this teacher training?
I guess I would say that, thank goodness that we as humans are adaptable, because this is certainly a challenge in that regard. I think this path that you and I are on to learn how to take the business in a different direction, but also maintain our integrity, requires us to be adaptable, patient, disciplined, um, and steady. And
Mm,
those are all qualities that are really required in a yoga practice as well. That sense of steadiness, that sense of discipline, not being in a hurry.
mm,
You and I have talked about that a lot, not having this sense of like, I want to fix something right away. I want to know something right away.
I want a flawless jump back right away.
Exactly. You and I have never been prescriptive in that way because it doesn't, that's not what either one of us believe is the practice. So I think,
I
go
I
ahead.
strangely have had an okay time in quarantine, in part, I think because of these very qualities, right? Like
Yes.
I'm okay. I'm not going to say it's been super easy, but I've been okay being still and being quiet and being in one place. There's a kind of nervous energy that I don't have to express out in the world. Go ahead.
No, no, I think that's true. So I think that's the way that I'm looking at the next few weeks, months, days, is that right now, this all we have, what we teach in yoga is the present moment. That is the priority, the focus. And that's how I'm trying to apply that to these times now, is that this is what we have in front of us. This is what we have to work with. And this is all we can really attend to and change, is this present moment. So I'm hoping to be able to maintain that, but also to help other folks, and to give them something, especially with the teacher training, to focus on. This is a moment where people can really grow and express and find and learn and challenge, but in a different way. So that's what I'm hoping.
It's going to be a great experiment.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to it.
me too.
All right. Do you want to tell people where they can find more info about us and the yoga studio and the training?
Absolutely. So go to our website, o2yoga.com. If you go to the special programs, that's where you'll find the teacher training information specifically. That gives all the dates and some background information. You'll see photos, and people will talk about testimonial kind of stuff about what their experience has been. Also on our website, we have, the regular schedule. We are just starting online, in-person classes, which has been a big experiment for us as well. So you can get information about that. And also just some background as to who we are and what we do. But we've been doing this it'll be 20 years in January that we've been in Somerville. I'm really, really proud of us being able to continue to stay a presence in the Somerville community through thick and thin. And I hope that we can provide some stability and some hope and some playfulness to others who are looking for it.
Great. And if people want to reach out to you directly, your email is?
Mimi@o2yoga.com.
Great. And I'm Elliott at o2yoga.com, which is a little trickier because 2 L's and 2 T's in Elliott, ELLIOTT.
2 M's and 2 I's in Mimi.
In Mimi, it's true. All right. Thanks, Meme. I'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Elliott.
And all right. Bye-bye now.
Bye.